All right, on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, that whole goalie controversy thing, it is front and center for Avs Nation, and lines in the sand are being drawn within the fan base and even on this very podcast. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to a new episode of Locked On Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Why not subscribe to our subtext as well? Link to that's in the show notes below, because when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinions on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, we're doing things a little weird right now because we are recording this just a few hours before puck drop on Sunday night against Dallas. And because that's a later start time, it would be a late night for us. And so we're doing it as what we're recording right now is obviously going to be talking about the Edmonton game. And then we will discuss the outcome of the Dallas game, which we don't know how that's going to be as of right now. That will be for Tuesday's episode. But just because there's so much going on right now with the Avalanche and that game in Edmonton, we didn't want to skip Monday totally. So a lot of what we say here, and it's going to be a lot of goalie discussion, could still hold true on Monday. Because I believe Georgiev is starting this game against Dallas, but will it matter if he has a good game? Will people? It'll be an interesting discussion, and we'll follow up on it for the Tuesday episode. But for right now, like I said, because this is before the puck drop on Sunday night, what's going on right now in Avalanche circles is there's a lot of people frustrated. At least with the goalie situation. And they have been for the duration of the year. It has not been a secret, right? So we'll get to Georgiev in a minute, but just the overall game in Edmonton, I kind of want to start there and just kind of get that out and out of the way. You know what? There haven't been many games like that for the Avalanche this year. They were really early in the year when you're going to have games like that because it's the beginning of the season. You have new guys. You're getting acclimated. You got blown out a couple times early in the season. This was a back-to-back. I don't want to, Mikko got hurt. We'll get to him too. It was a bad game from top to bottom. And, I'm not going to bring out the excuse machine. They're there if people want to use them. But in the end, you got smoked. And like we always say with the Avalanche, this is a team that usually bounces back pretty well. And now that they're back home, we'll see how it goes against Dallas. But just your thoughts on the Edmonton game.
It was horrible. It was atrocious. I would love for you to turn that excuse machine on and put it in overdrive because not a single one is going to make it feel any better.
The only one that I will say is like it's a back-to-back. Like back-to-back suck. Like we can't sit here and I'm not going to do this and say like, oh, the back-to-back is the excuse. But when the Avalanche face a team, and we've done it, when the Avalanche face a team that's on the second game of a back-to-back, we always say like, oh, well, we beat a team that was on the second game of the back-to-back. Take that with a grain of salt. When it's the other way around and we're the team on the back-to-back, we get smoked like that. It is what it is. It's a loss. You didn't look good. But hey, like, am I going to say if they had a day off, would it made a difference? I don't know. That just looked bad all around.
No, and I get it. Like, it was a long travel day. It was... But let's not talk about travel here. The team that showed up and was on the ice looked bad, looked atrocious. There was no fire. There was no push. There was nothing. Didn't do anything statistically. And it was two shots and then one goal, the same start to the game. And the Avs just didn't have that typical bounce back, come from behind push. And it's one of those that you kind of get to look at this coming into the playoffs with a different perspective. Is this comeback thing? Is this a weak second period, a strong third period? Is this a good thing? Or is this how they've had to survive this entire season and now it just looks bad? Is this like you can't
Yeah.
it's not conducive for playoff hockey.
No, but I'm not
Eventually,
gonna say that this is who they are. It's a bad game. When you have the course of an 82 game season, or for baseball, 162 game season, you have these. Even in football, which is a much shorter season, but those games are there's much more value to each individual game. You're gonna have those as a football team. They happen. And the problem is, like, when they happen, and when you're the Avalanche team and you're expecting excellence every single day, when it doesn't happen, all these questions start coming up on, and some of them are valid, but some of them are just in the moment panic. And it's like, this team's got 100 points on the season. They're what, eighth overall in from top to bottom in the entire National Hockey League. This is a good hockey team. That was a bad game. Two things can coexist at the same time. So I don't want to say you forget it. You don't forget games like that. You use games like that as motivation going forward. But I'm not the type to kind of, just roll this tire down the hill and just be like, well, Avs are done because of that game. No, they're professionals. When you got a team like with Nathan MacKinnon, kind of leading this team right now, you really think he's just going to be like, all right, guys, phone it in, pack it in. We don't have it. No, it's going to happen. And guess what, people? It's going to happen in the playoffs. There's going to be a bad game in the playoffs. You're going to lose games in the playoffs, and those get blown up even more, which I kind of enjoy sometimes.
and see, I don't think it's as dire as pack it up, phone it in, we're done.
No, I know I'm
There's
being a little excessive there, but yeah.
but it's concerning. And you bring up
Okay.
Nathan MacKinnon. This was we talked about it going into the game, a head-to-head Connor McDavid versus Nathan MacKinnon. If I was any Joe Schmo watching, this is my first Avalanche NHL game of the year, who looked more impressive in that head-to-head?
Connor McDavid did, but I'll raise you, like, how often have we said that when Edmonton is playing the Avalanche? The Avalanche have been getting the better of Connor McDavid over the last handful of games. So good for him.
That's the thing, though. It's not so much, you can't stretch it over the entire season at this point, because you're talking recently, like a month or two into the season, Connor McDavid wasn't even on the radar.
He was coming out of like a banshee. Yeah, no,
so you got to go the here and now, like, and this is where the Hart Trophy of the voters. This is not a automatic vote. This is not a statistic. You get top number one automatic vote. No, there is still voting, human votes that tally here.
Yeah,
you want to see more out of Nathan MacKinnon, who you keep talking about. Oh, he's got this over Kucherov, he's got this over McDavid. But then when you put them in real life, in flesh and bone, on ice in front of each other, he looks like the second guy. That's not what you want.
No, and like you said, it's more recency than anything else. Like, for this game, everybody on Edmonton got the better of the Avalanche, all of them. So, and the big one here is Alexandar Georgiev. It had a horrible game, a horrific game. And now this is bringing up the goalie question again. I don't know, man. Like, I don't think the Avalanche. I think their hands are tied here with who their goal. And we're all jumping to the playoffs. Who's goalie number one in the playoffs? There's a handful of games left in the regular season. They're not. We don't believe that they're starting Georgiev, or excuse me, Annunen against Dallas. So to me, that's telling. That's saying, like, no, he is our guy. Like, he's our guy. He's got to write it out. He had a bad game. Let him correct it. I don't feel like they are turning to Justus Annunen, a rookie with 11 games, 12 games under his belt, to say, lead us into the playoffs. Maybe not lead us, because leading us into the playoffs is Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. Like, those lead, but, defend our net. They're not there, guys. I know you want this. I know. I cannot believe, if the Avalanche were in a different like slot for where they are, But when you are a favorite, and when you're still a favorite in a lot of like FanDuels and stuff like that, 1 or 2, you are not turning to a rookie. You are not. I want to get a break in here, and then we will absolutely continue this conversation with smiling Van Doom right after this. All right, let's hear from Sleeper. And regardless of where we are in the current standings, we want to remind you about Sleeper. It's the daily fantasy hockey and sports app, which we always turn to Mr. Shaggy Von Doom to see if he has found a better daily fantasy app than Sleeper. Any luck yet, sir? We're getting towards the end of the season.
No, I even went out in a boot today. Couldn't even find a thing.
You crossed borders. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. And this is where I turn to you. This is going to be an interesting one, because I usually turn to you for the next game, and the next game is in a few hours. So why don't we hear from you on who your daily fantasy sleeper pick is now, and people will know immediately on Monday if you were right or wrong. Who you got for this one?
Valeri Nichushkin.
Love it. I love it.
It's former team.
Yes.
He needs to get hot.
All you have to do is pick whether studs like Val Nichushkin will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. So use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Once again, that code is LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, let's get back into it. I won't waste too much time because I know you are chomping at the bit to explain your side on why it needs to be Justus Annunen starting game 1 for the Avalanche in the postseason, and all the reasons why you're wrong. Go ahead.
Okay. You're talking about Justus Annunen being a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
What has Georgiev done?
He's got you. Let me see. What's it? How many wins does he have now? I mean, he's got you some of the hot. I don't know if he's leading anymore in wins. Let me check really quick. He is. He's got you 37 wins on the season. He's an all-star. Like, he's done things for you. He's played well. That whole like under 0.900 save percent, which we were harping on for so long, it's above that. I don't know if it is now after that last game, but it creeped above that. He was playing better. He was starting to play better. But these last couple of games, he has not. I'm going to grant you that. He has not. But he's your veteran over your rookie. That's where it is.
Veteran, this is his second year as a starter.
Yeah. But I mean, he second year as a starter, but I mean, how many total seasons has he been in the league?
He's been in the league since 2017, and this is his first year over 34 games.
Okay. This is still any stat you're going to throw out on what Georgiev has is much more of a sample size than you have in Justus Annunen. Anything you can throw out.
Well, we're still talking about everything was perfectly set up for Georgiev to be 1A. This is my guy. This is announcing on draft night. We picked up Georgiev to be our goalie 1A. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. This was a Frankie backup team then. He took the job over Frankie. Mm-hmm. He kept the job, got bounced in the playoffs last year. This year started out pretty good. Mm-hmm. It's steadily gotten worse. And then when the pressure keeps mounting a little bit because you have Justus playing okay. I'm not going to say he's playing incredible hockey, but he's playing okay.
Good. He's playing better than Georgiev. I will absolutely say that. He's playing better than Georgiev.
So Georgiev, if he was playing up to playoff ready caliber, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Of course not. He's doing everything in his power to lose this 1A spot.
Right. Right.
Like his play is not great. Edmonton, that was 6 goals. He got pulled in the Nashville game. Yep. It's the one shot, one goal thing. How long can a team do that? That's not fun. That's not conducive. That's not winning hockey. That's not Avalanche way. Mm-hmm. And it's not just we've exhausted every excuse we could possibly use for he didn't see this one. He didn't see this one. I was getting mad at the Altitude broadcast for their defending of
They
why
do
the
that a little bit more than I really like. Like, just be honest about it.
yeah,
He is
like
not playing well. Like, I get it. I get it.
it's starting to wear thin on my nerves where we're trying everything possible just not to say, wow, this is not a good goalie right now.
Like, when
And
Rakhmonov was like, nothing's getting past that glove hand tonight, and then there's one that one right at the end of the second period that he just cannot catch for whatever reason. It goes in like, okay, now that looks like a really, really bad comment.
and see, I think like the conversation is lost on it's not honestly like I'm not saying Eustace is like NHL like Vesna winning goalie,
I know that.
but I'm
No,
talking right now going into the playoffs. The bad in Eustace is better than the bad in Georgiev.
but what we don't know about Eustace is the great unknown. That is why, like, you cannot turn to him. And I'm not sitting here saying like I'm trying to defend Georgiev. I'm just looking at the options. And I said this to you just in our normal conversations. Like, if this was Frankie, if Frankie was here, this isn't a conversation. Frankie is your starter right now
Exactly.
because he's proven.
And
With Annunen, it's not. And like I said, you cannot be a team with high Stanley Cup aspirations and this late in the season turn to your rookie and be like, you're the guy. Because that now it's a psychological thing too, Kyle. Now you've told Georgiev, you got us, and I'm using air quotes, and I'll use this term lightly. You got us to this point. I know there's a lot of other factors that got them to this point. But now with 6-7 games left, we're benching you going into the playoffs. That messes with, because what happens in the if the pressure is just too big for Annunen, which is a thing for really unproven young goaltenders. If it's too much in the playoffs, now what do? Now you turn back to Georgiev and go like, we need you again, guy. Can you go out there? Now you've gotten into a psychological warfare with him, and things are bad heading into next year. So that's another factor that comes into play.
And see, like when we were talking about that in our conversation earlier, I brought up there's been NHL goalies that have started on NHL teams that are in the AHL right now because they have been broken. And with Georgiev, this is his second year as a starter, and guys, it's getting worse. Have we seen peak Georgiev? What are we waiting on? What are we anticipating? He's not the goalie that won us the cup. What are we saying is
Right.
the high mark? And we're saying we keep
Well,
pointing to wins, but that's not Georgiev. That's the team.
no, it's true. Yeah,
He's just
it's
back
right.
there when the Avalanche win. That's
But
I mean, I could get those wins if you put me back there. That's not that difficult
right.
to do. It's not like he's going out there and physically keeping a 1-goal game. No, he's giving up the first shot to make it a 1-goal game for the opponent.
And if the Avalanche feel that way, if they feel like, hey, we could put whoever back there right now, and I always use the Denver Broncos running backs of the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, we can put anybody back there, and it's the offensive line that's getting this guy's like these yardage. If they feel that way, they feel like, hey, we're gonna put feelings aside here and just go with Eustace, and we're confident that our team in front of him, he can stop whatever puck that's thrown his way. They go that route. I don't. And the other part of it, if you had all season long to really get a good look at Eustace, maybe they have more of a sample size just in this 1 year. But it's only been recently. It's been since February. Since mid-February, they brought him up, and we were all like, they're just going to say, you're the backup until the trade deadline. See what you can do. He's been good. Has he played great opponents? No. That's the other part of it. He hasn't. Great. He shut out Chicago back-to-back. Awesome. It's a different animal going into the playoffs. And I think where we're on the I guess on the same front is it's a problem right now. And really, is there a right answer? Maybe that's the answer, Kyle. Maybe the answer is there is not a right answer for this.
And I think you touched on it. I think the Avalanche are confident that whoever's back there, this team can still win. Because there was not anybody picked up at the trade deadline. There was no moves made to address We had trade deadline shows, trade shows left, right, and center about as soon as they address 2C, get a backup goalie, this team is fine. Backup, they got a 2C. Middle set, great. Where's the backup goalie? Apparently the Avalanche didn't see like that as a need. So
No.
right now they're just looking at the goalie, and how we were talking about McDavid, McKinnon. They're looking at the best of the worst. Like, who's playing bad right now? Who's this recent sample size? They're not stretching it out. They're not looking at scouts, playing cards. They're not looking at anything other than, what'd you do for me last time? That wasn't great.
But there is a lot of what have you done for me lately, especially in the fan base, right? And it's all recent. It's all like recency bias and stuff like that. And even when Prosvetov first came up, and I think he had a pretty good game, like we all want to turn to him, like he's the answer. Like, okay, and then what happened? Like he kind of showed who he really is, not there yet. Annunen's come up, done well. Sam Malinsky came up. We were like Cale Makar version 2.0. Is anybody missing Sam Malinsky right now? No, it's not to say that, he's not a part of he's probably going to be a big part next year. But it's just like, because Eustace is like the it guy right now because he's played well against kind of like superior teams that, superior to the Avalanche, or the Avalanche superior to them. We want to now just heap the workload on him. But if you want to do that, worst case scenario, Kyle, you turn to Annunen and you get bounced in the first round again. Who we blaming? We blaming Eustace. We blaming Bednar. We blaming McKinnon. I know we would have to see like how like who plays well and who doesn't. But are we then looking back and saying, wow, that was stupid to turn to a rookie goalie who's got 12 games under his belt as your game one starter? I don't think any of us would be happy with that if we did. Same thing would be happening if it's Georgiev and we get bounced in the first round again. It's, world on fire, solar eclipse is, killing everything type of mentality.
Well, you put Eustace in there against Minnesota, faces 40-plus shots, pitches a good game.
Yeah.
Eustace, 40-plus shots against Edmonton, atrocious. And guess what? His start before that was 4 goals on 12 shots against Nashville. 2 minutes of penalty time, yanked from the game. When you're going into the playoffs, like, who do you feel good about? And if you're putting up Eustace, I'm telling you, Georgiev, I understand what all he's done and the new hook projection that we like to put on what he could be but he's not helping himself out with these bad saves, bad positioning, and now penalty minutes. And like the Avalanche are giving him every chance in the world. And if he's not doing it, you got to make the tough decision that, hey, you just can't do it right now. When you're ready, take some time, figure it out. But we have to win games sometime. And guess what? Eustace won against Minnesota. Georgiev did not against Edmonton. That's how it goes.
Well, you asked the question, like, who are you more comfortable in? Neither, but for different reasons. For different reasons. Like, I'm not comfortable with Annunen just for the lack of experience. And I'm not comfortable with Georgiev just because he just hasn't flat out played well. So I just don't want this to be what bounces the Avalanche, but you just get a bad feeling that if they do get bounced, this is going to be the reason why. So, all right, let's get to Mikko. So we know that he is out right now. We'll talk about that, some other things, close up this episode. We'll do all that coming up next. All right, eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, which is called what, Mr. Sullivan?
The Nathan McKinnon trilogy.
That's right. eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car, the MVP, and bring home the huge win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. So the funny thing is, because the way that we're doing these shows right now, when people are listening to this, most people will be listening to this on Monday. Will things have changed depending on how Georgiev plays against Dallas, or will people? I mean, if he plays poorly against Dallas, like it's going to kick into overdrive, and I would completely understand why. If he plays well, I think there'll be some people that are like, it's not enough, it's not good enough, and there'll be some people that are like, that's a good showing. He put up a fight back performance following a terrible performance and played well. So I know there's always going to be people, doesn't matter what you do, can't win if you try. And so people are going to be like, hey, he went out and showed me something. So I'm going to be interesting to see that conversation going forward after this Dallas game.
Yeah, despite however Georgiev plays, if it's a shutout, if it's 7 goals and 10 shots, like this conversation that we had in segment 2 is a good way to limit the conversation from going too far one way. It's just a good way if you're in the Eustace camp to kind of level that a little bit. And if you're in the Georgiev camp, level that a little bit. And then just keep this in the back of your mind for the rest of the regular season going into the playoffs and then go from there.
Yeah. Because if they felt like maybe we should kind of entertain some move, I think you see Eustace for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But you're not. So I think, that's kind of telling. We know we're not going to see Mikko in the Dallas game. We don't know how long he'll be out for. He took that hard hit, very legal hit, nothing wrong with it, but just he was not expecting it, kind of, wasn't really prepared for it, and ends up being a concussion. Was in a concussion protocol. So I don't know, man. What do you think? Like, if you think he's just going to sit out the rest of the regular season, maybe play the last game of the regular season just to get his legs and then head into the postseason?
I say why not? Honestly, at this point, you see that happen, and it kind of wakes up one concussion conversation around the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that conversation, it just hangs around with Matt Calvert, Bo Byram. It never stops. So rest Mikko Rantanen, bring up another guy for the rest of the garbage time. You clinch the playoffs. You understand. Before you start, I hear the keyboard now. I know about the Central. I know about playoff positioning. I get it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But it's not worth the expense of a guy like Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen. If you have the opportunity to rest them, especially for concussion, let Mikko sit, and we'll catch you in the playoffs, buddy.
And what about the playoffs? Like, I mean, things are kind of coming into focus here. I mean, if the Avalanche win this game against Dallas, and most of you will know if they have done that by the time they're listening to this, they're within a point if they do in regulation. They're within a point of Dallas. So it's still within reach. So if you win the division, you're likely playing Nashville. What's let me see what the difference is between Nashville and the second wild card spot. Well, it's not guaranteed. Both
No.
Vegas and Nashville have 92 points, and Vegas has a game in hand. So then let's throw all those scenarios out there. Would you want to win the division and either play Nashville or Vegas, or settle for second in the division and go against Winnipeg?
Hey, Winnipeg is not as scary right now as they were about.
I know, but doesn't that just like I always have the mindset of like teams amp it back up in the playoffs, and you did not match up well with Winnipeg all season.
That's very, very true. That's very true. But then you is it one of those that they're running out of gas from, honestly, one of the most incredible runs that Winnipeg has had in their organization's existence? Are they running out of gas? The moment too big? Or it's a gamble? But then you're looking at teams like Vegas, you know what they're about to be when playoff time rolls around. And when it comes to Nashville, same story as Winnipeg. Are they running out of gas? Is the story over? To pardon a WrestleMania pun, is their story finished? You never know what you're going to get, but guess what? You got a spot in the playoffs, and this is all house money. You're not falling out. So whatever it takes, if the Avalanche, top to bottom, believe in this roster, it doesn't matter.
No, and I think that they do. I think they absolutely believe in the roster. So I do. I think they look at it as, no, we're going to play every game for the rest of this regular season to win them. I don't see an Avalanche team, taking their foot off the gas and saying like, hey, let's play for seeding. I really don't see the team doing that. I think they're going to play every game to win. If that results in winning the division, they don't. I do. I feel like they're confident in this team, goalies included. That it doesn't matter if it's Nashville or Vegas. And that's funny, man. Like you have for all of those possible opponents, there's ways you can look at it in a positive for the Avalanche. Like, hey, I like that matchup. And there's ways you can look at it as like, okay, that's a dangerous matchup. So you look at them and you're like, nah, there's not one there that, I mean, we could rank them if we wanted to, but it'd be like, there's not one there where I'm like, I feel much more comfortable in that one. And for like you're saying with the Jets, they haven't played well as of late, but it's matchups. They match up well against you. I don't like that match. That's one I really don't. If you're forcing me to rank them, I wouldn't want to play Winnipeg just based on how the Avalanche played them over the regular season.
All the playoffs teams, like when we were doing this about a month ago, there were teams that really scared us and teams that we wanted and begged for. Now closer to the playoffs, everything is kind of simmered to that middle where everybody could do the same scaring and that you look forward to. So it's going to be fun because you know what? Playoff hockey is the best.
It's the best. There is nothing better. Nothing better. And the last thing with when you get to the postseason, it is a lot about goaltending. And the Jets have a darn good one who is tough to beat 4 times. So we'll see. But you are absolutely right. There is nothing better than playoff hockey. Cannot beat it. And it's almost here.
I can feel it.
Oh, all right. All right. We'll be back Tuesday to discuss however this game went. That is puck drops a little bit here. So we'll discuss that on Tuesday. Until then, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys Tuesday.